now I'm going to talk to my people.
Yes.
Because I like what, as we are saying, vive la France, vive la francophonie. So, le leadership, c'est quoi? Le leadership, ce n'est pas le fait d'intimider les gens ou bien de dominer les gens, non. Le leadership, c'est le fait d'aider les gens à suivre le bon chemin. Parce qu'il y a des gens qui sont là, ils ne savent même pas par quel chemin emprunter. Il y a des gens qui ont même étudié, mais ils ne savent pas quel business ils doivent faire. Maintenant, l'idée, quand tu rencontres une personne pareille, tu vas l'orienter. Non, tu peux faire mieux que ce que tu fais. Non, la peur que tu as là ne va pas te tuer. Tu peux aller au-delà de la peur. L'idée, c'est comme j'avais donné l'exemple, j'avais donné l'exemple ici en français, en anglais, pardon. La vidéo que j'avais vue à propos des chiens, il y avait un groupe de chiens au niveau du Canada et il n'y avait pas de l'eau. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y avait, la neige, il n'y avait pas la place pour que tout le monde puisse boire de l'eau. Mais il y avait seulement une petite place pour le boss que je vais appeler. Et il ne voulait pas que les autres puissent venir boire de l'eau, comme il était boss. Il intimidait les gens. Mais il y avait un petit garçon, un petit chien qui était là à côté. Il a eu l'idée de briser la glace, là où il y avait pas, parce que l'eau était en dessous et il n'y avait pas moyen de boire, mais le petit chien a brisé et tout le monde a vu ce qu'il faisait. Ils sont venus, ils ont commencé à briser et tous ont profité avec l'eau potable. Et le boss était laissé comme un vaurien. Personne ne le faisait encore confiance parce qu'il n'était pas là pour les aider. Il était là simplement pour le faire peur, les intimider. Mais l'idée, c'est quelqu'un qui est là pour aider quelqu'un à avancer jusqu'à son destin, à sa vision. Parce que nous avons tous nos visions, mais c'est la peur des fois qui nous arrête. Merci mon ami.
Let me take this opportunity. Yeah. I know everybody is watching me. My fellow Ugandans, my fellow youth, my fellow brothers and sisters, please, everything is possible. You can never regret before you die. I know people, they have degrees, masters and what, but they are looking for something to do. They are waiting for their applying for job opportunities. But you can create your own project. You can create it. You understand? Yeah. You can do something, because for me, I came from the foot of the mountain. You understand? Everything is possible. So, however much you have a degree, you have what? You will be keeping on looking for job. No jobs. But you can start with something small. Think what you can do. Everything you can do. You can start with something small. You have seen the way how for me I started. I think you saw the park, the small park, which I started with. Now check. Right now Uganda is proud of that park. But I thought that park was mine at the beginning. I thought, man, I've made this park. But the day when I realized it, that is the time when the community came together and said, from the community, that park is no longer for the community. At the beginning, it was mine. It jumped off from me. It went to the community. It jumped away from the community. It went for Nakawa. It jumped from Nakawa. So now it's for the whole Uganda.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
But remember where I started from. Yeah. That's why I say, my fellow Ugandans, my fellow brothers and sisters, sit, think what you can do. It can expand at any time.
To be an engineer. When I joined my Form 5, my dad asked for a PCB math. Back then we used to do a long combination. And I changed the combination because I didn't want to do biology. I didn't want to do the biology. I wasn't interested in medicine. Yeah. But he talked to me. He didn't punish me. Later on, I changed back to the course, and then There I went to campus, went for a medical course, and I'm out here.
Okay.
Yes.
And doctor, before we get into our second part, which is the management of change and development within self, which is what I'm basically taking you through, either in a business or a similar organization and at the nation level.
Right.
You trained as a medical doctor, and we see you now transiting to another area which is very interesting that we have not seen many people in Uganda. That's managing change.
Okay.
What would you describe change management in your understanding as is to many of our viewers?
How would I describe change management?
Yes.
Well, I would initially say, talk something about change. Change is something inevitable and irreversible. Once change comes, you have to move. It either changes you or you change with a change.
Yes.
For hygiene, because impression is key.
Yeah.
Remember, you're serving coffee. Coffee is so simple. If you, I don't know if you have some coffee cups here. I will show this. You can find a very small cup, and you have to do a pour over there.
Yeah.
So if you're dirty, you have to, you have to be so hygienic.
Yeah.
Where you work from, the way you present yourself,
Yeah.
are you attractive? You yourself, you're the first marketeer
True.
of your coffee.
Yeah.
Because people may come to the station and they maybe they have never taken coffee. Does that mean you will never sell your coffee? No. But if you present yourself well,
Yeah.
you tell some people you look nice, you dress well, you smell well, like, well, they can even give you audience.
Yeah.
You talk to them about the coffee and the advantages.
Yeah.
Convince them, but you not convince somebody when you're stinking, you're
True.
looking shabby,
Yeah.
you know. Nobody can allow you brew their coffee
Yeah.
when you're ramshackled.
True.
Hygiene matters.
Yeah.
Your personal hygiene, the sanitation at your station, oh, it really matters.
Yeah.
A lot, a lot, a lot.
Yeah, and I think-
and there is no excuse for that.
It's a CEO bench, so usually people want to assume that all CEOs are overlearned and stuff like that. So I will change the script this time round. I consider myself a certified hustler.
If I'm looking to know who you are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as Ugandan?
That's the easiest question I think to answer. I am a typical Lao man from Erute North, in a place called Ogur, and where I will be laid to rest is in a village called Agweng. So if you go there and you just say Otoa Tony, they won't really know me because my father is also Otoa Tony. You have to ask for Junior, and when you're asking, you have to ask with an accent. Junior Tikwene, where is Junior? And they will identify me. But I'm typically Ugandan, only Ugandan, from Lira. I pride myself from being from Lira. Earlier on, I was joking and saying I'm the coolest Lago south of Karuma. When you cross Karuma, there are so many. But when you're down in the south after Karuma, I think I'm number one.
Wow. Well, now that you know Tony Otoa is Ugandan, and of course, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
I think it's the love for country, love for nation. You know, truth be told, the country is in a lot of, it's a crisis. Leadership crisis, economic crisis, social crisis. There's so many mismatching areas. But at the end of the day, it's home. You know, you cannot run and abandon your home because of the issues in your home. I think that then creates an opportunity for you to do something to change what's happening and what you see as a crisis. So in terms of what I see as a value, or what I take out of that for me, I think is just the love for country, the need to serve country the best way I can. And I mean, I can't say I can change everything, but the little I can do to create a difference, I think is more meaningful.
Wow. Mr. Tony Otoa, growing up, what did you want to be in life, and what was the journey like for Mr. Otoa?
Yeah, you know, my father is crazy. My father would call us and he would show me the compass. The idea was supposed to be a pilot. You know, the planes would fly over our house and my father would be like, yeah, you're going to be a pilot.
Yeah.
But of course, as you grow, you realize that you have so many things that really define you. I was never a sportsman. So I enjoyed a lot of debate and, you know, a lot of indoor activities. And that is, I think, what really drove me into some of the things that I do up to today. Public speaking, the love for debates and really a lot of intellectual discourse and all this stuff. But besides that, I think it's also the fact that, I won't lie, I didn't know what I wanted to be.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television.
So I would have expected that at least, you know, the president would have appointed immediately, probably the Minister of Health, to support the process because he has all the powers.
Yeah.
But you see, between that period until the Minister of Health was appointed, we were in a vacuum of there's no Minister of Health. So what COVID-19 law were we implementing? Because we can't implement the presidential directives.
Hello viewers, welcome to yet another episode of You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host. Today, we discuss yet another important area which has been affected by the rule of law. As you may be aware, in the previous editions, we talked about different rights that have been affected by the virus. We've talked about labor rights. We've talked about human rights broadly as a theme. We've talked about access to justice and all those other things. Today, we delve into another sensitive area which is important for our democracy as a country, and that's the issue of rule of law. What does rule of law mean? What does it mean for you and I on any given day? What do we need to do to protect rule of law? What challenges has COVID-19 posed on the rule of law in Uganda? These and many questions are going to be unpacked by my guest today, who is none other than Mr. Michael Aboneka. Michael is a social justice lawyer who works for Action Aid Uganda, where he coordinates the civic space and governance work. He's also a partner at Thomas & Michael, a general practice law firm in Kampala, and does many things himself. If you go online, you will read more about Michael and the stuff that he does. But for today, we're having Michael to tell us, more about, rule of law and how the intersection with COVID-19. Michael, you're very welcome to You and the Law.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm glad to be here to discuss this very important subject.
Sure. How have you been?
I've been great. It's been a roller coaster of things. From COVID-20 to COVID-19 to COVID-2021. So I'm even not sure whether we should call this COVID-20 or 19 or 21. But we are carrying on.
Great.
Yeah.
You work at ActionAid. I know that broadly you work around social justice issues.
Yes.
Perhaps we could start by slightly understanding what this animal social justice is and the work that you do around it.
Thank you. The thing about social justice is really about how everyone, regardless of their color, sex, age, are able to receive services from the state, and they're able to, their rights are respected, protected, and that everyone around them, be it a state, be it a non-state actor, they are protecting them and making sure that their number one list on their list, that your neighbor doesn't go hungry, that you are able to ensure that there is sanity, there is sanity in your neighborhood, that is still social justice, that you care for everyone. So we believe that social justice, if everyone catered for everyone the way they would want to be catered for, then this world and this country will be a better place.
I mean, that's quite a workload that you have.
Yes.
And well, I know you've read about Action Aid and your work in the media and a bit of challenges you had a couple of years back in the course of doing your work. So today we're discussing rule of law. People argue that rule of law is a core ingredient of a democracy, or rather for any democracy. It might be correct to say our democracy as well,
yes.
if any. But I thought I could pick your mind first on understanding this concept. When you talk about rule of law, what exactly are we talking about?
Yes, I want to say that, you see, rule of law is that golden thread in the fabric of governance, or fabric of society. So fabric is like a cloth,
yes.
And then you have that golden thread that is moving, across that fabric, and that is rule of law. Be it a clan, be it a home, where else? Family, down there at the butchery, wherever. There is some sense of order, and that order is brought by certain components. So rule of law simply, there are three words: the rule, and then the law, and then of course the conjunction is of. And if you play with that conjunction, things turn around.
Okay.
You've heard people say rule by law.
Yes.
That is totally opposite, with the rule of law. So rule of law, I want everyone to understand that it is not, an astronomical thing that only guys at God the Mars need to understand. It is simply that we are all the same.
Okay.
We all adhere to the principles set, be it at your school, be it dormitory, there are dormitory heads, be it border associations, be it tax drivers associations. Even prisoners, they have that guy. Katikiro, depends, I think they used to call them chachi, whatever it is. There is a certain semblance of principles. Others call it rubric, whatever language you want to use. And then that everyone respects it. Everyone. So it is one thing to have laws, principles in place, and another for everyone to respect the same. Simple example, here in Kampala, how many people drive on road islands during traffic? I've even seen cars that belong to the red number plate.
Yes.
People are not patient. They want to actually drive on the road islands. But yet the law says the traffic rules are simple: follow the lanes, drive on the left, keep your seatbelt on. But people never do that. So you see, the point is that once everyone adheres to principles, then everyone will be alive, and everyone will reach in time. So it's just about that. So adherence. The other important thing is about equality.
Yes.
I come from a social justice background.
Yes.
I am a social justice activist. Equality is very important. It is 2 years now, and the majority of Ugandan children have not gone back to school. But I'm told there are others who are studying.
Yes.
So then what makes those different from those one in Kabera Maido? That those in Kabera Maido, they have not even received even an area of the radio that that was promised. Okay?
Yes.
But we hear others are going to school, you hear people are Zooming, you hear all this. That breeds inequality.
Yes.
In 2 years' time, the country, Uganda, is going to have the same age mates, but who are different in terms of knowledge,
yes.
who are different in terms of understanding things and opportunities, and then we are going to have a crash. And then we shall not be able to live harmoniously, because now the inequality will be big. It also means accountability. The COVID funds. Let me make a very interesting observation. Spice Diana brought matoke, eggs, and all those things, the Ministry of Health, during that time of COVID to help. But so who ate that matoke? So I want to know, did the end of the patients eat? They brought a lot of flour, baking powder. Everyone was donating. Cars. But then you hear the patients are saying they're only giving us portion beans. The matoke and the eggs that were donated, where did they go? It comes as simple as that.
Yeah.
And because of that, I actually started a hashtag called Follow the Money Uganda.
Yes.
Follow the money UG. Let us follow the COVID money. The district tax forces received 150 million shillings. And then the MPs were told to return that money, the district tax forces.
Yes.
And then as they receive that, the Minister of Finance tells them, bring it back to the center.
Yeah.
But what did the 150 million do? That is rule of law. It's accountability. If anyone walked to any district leadership, will they be able to give them that? Recently, they are telling every Ugandan to go and vaccinate. In Wakiso, the health assistants didn't show up. The Ugandans lined up to get vaccinated, and the health officials didn't show up because their allowance had not been given to them.
Accountability.
Someone says, but we sent it. Accountability.
I mean, Michael, you sort of highlight 3 key pillars.
Yes.
One is
adherence to
principles.
Yes.
2 is equality, and the third tenet is accountability. I mean, very important thing. Perhaps one of the struggles we have as a country, and you articulate the ideas, very eloquently. But I'm curious to know that this idea, what is this legal basis? Because you could be just telling me fancy things you read in textbooks or things you check out in American journals or publications in the EU, and then but our reality we're in Uganda.
Yes.
So I'll just ask, what makes rule of law as a concept binding on Uganda? Is there a law that prescribes for it in Uganda or in the region, even at the global stage?
Thank you. You see, we're talking about rule of law and their principles. So in Uganda, we have a number of laws, but the chief law, and in Uganda it's even better, they call it Semateka, is the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda.
Yes.
And in Uganda they call it Semateka. You've heard of Namunswa? The queen of the anthill.
Yes.
So there are those names. So the chief law is the Constitution.
Yes.
And the Constitution is the effect that this is the supreme law of the country.
Yes.
And any other laws emanate from this Constitution. Even if it is that clan taking a decision. You've heard of people who say when a girl gets pregnant, we roll them off a cliff and they die.
Yes.
But the Constitution is saying if there is any custom that says otherwise to the Constitution, that custom is null and void, because everyone's right to life has been preserved by the Constitution, which is the supreme. So the Constitution is telling us no one should die except if court has sentenced you to death.
Yeah.
Now, if you a clan leader, in all your glory, you think that you can just roll down someone's daughter, off the cliff and they die, then you are going against the law. Therefore, you're going against the rule of law because you're not respecting the Constitution. So, out of the Constitution, there are various laws, and the Constitution gives Parliament to make power. At some point, Parliament also delegated some functions of making law to the minister. The issue of COVID-19, all these regulations that people have been hearing about.
Yes.
By the way, they think that they're presidential. They think that these laws are by the president.
Yeah. I know we'll come to. Analyze that. Yes.
But that's a minister's function. So we wanted to have a situation where not every time you'll have to call MPs to sit. So somewhere in the Constitution, in the Acts of Parliament, the parliamentarians delegated some of that function to the minister, but also to be exercised judiciously and not in a wanton manner.
Yes.
That Mr. Ochom is a difficult man. Let me make a law and say that he will not eat food for the rest of his life. No. It has to be judiciously so that we promote a harmonious society.
So that's at the Ugandan level.
Yes.
Do you have anything at the regional and the international stage?
Yes, we do. For example, the issue about law outside Uganda, and people have also argued it alongside sovereignty. We are Uganda. Don't tell us what we can do. But you see, Uganda is a signatory to many international law.
Yes.
So we have in the region, probably you can look at the African Union level, and then internationally there are various principles, there are various protocols, there are various laws that Uganda is party of. For example, the law on against discrimination of women, there is the international framework on the civil and political rights.
Yes.
There are many, there are many, but you see, the point is, most of those have to be brought back home,
Yes.
which is called domesticating.
Yes.
So, for example, the African Charter on Elections, Democracy and Good Governance,
Yes.
which I've worked on diligently for about 2 years, we are asking, has this been domesticated in the country? And actually we find out that almost the entire charter is all falls with our constitution. So Uganda signed it but hasn't yet ratified it. So we hope that it can. So those are some of the examples of both international and regional frameworks. And by the way, when your governments go and negotiate things there and sign, they are signing on your behalf.
Yes.
So you also now have to respect and follow.
And thank you so much, Michael. You give us a good background to this conversation, because now we're sure that we're discussing something with the legal backing. And I think this is time for us to go for a quick break. Viewers, you're watching You and the Law, the COVID edition. Today we are sitting with Mr. Michael Aboneka from Action Aid to discuss rule of law and its intersection with COVID-19 in Uganda. Let's go for a break. We'll be right back.
When it comes to the law, we basically live the law, you know, on a day-to-day basis, you know. Whether it is in your bedroom, there is a law that governs it. If you're married, for example, even if you're single, there could be something touching on the law, because you might be in your bedroom with an underage girl, or you might be with another person's wife, you know. All the things are the law, you know.
If you're a human being, you have rights. Those rights are called human rights. They are examples: the right to health, the right to freedom from torture, that underscores human dignity, freedom from slavery. You're not supposed to be someone's slave.
If you look at our penal code, it sets out another marriage laws. It sets out the persons who can marry and those who cannot marry, right? For example, you can't marry your close relatives. You know, if you did, you'd be committing a crime.
The state is not supposed to tell you who to worship, how many times a day. No, you have a right to work. The right to work, you have freedom of association.
Cohabitation for whatever period of time does not make you husband and wife, right? And that is why we emphasize to people that when the relationship is still hot, you know, you must ensure that you do what? Marry.
Yes.
You know?
For human rights to be respected, protected, and fulfilled, relevant government programs must actually work. Medicine should reach hospitals, oxygen should be there, health workers should have gloves, teachers should be present. Now they are mostly absent, and they have left the profession, a good number of them. They are into trading. So things must work. If things don't work, human rights are not respected, are not protected, and are not fulfilled.
COVID-19 has tested our hope and faith as individuals, families, and the country at large. Besides destroying many aspects of our lives, the novel coronavirus has also affected our human rights in many ways. You and the Law, the COVID edition, is a 30-minute weekly television program that focuses on the impact of COVID-19 on human rights in Uganda. The program engages experts to explain the importance of rights-based approaches to the success of any public health response to ensure the respect, protection, and fulfillment of human rights amidst the challenges presented by COVID-19. You and the Law, the television program, brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda, taking the law to the last mile in proud association with I4C Africa Hub and House of Talent Television, coming soon.
Welcome back. This is You and the Law, the COVID edition, here on House of Talent Television, proudly brought to you by Legal Hub Uganda in partnership with I4C Africa Hub. Today we're discussing rule of law and how it has been affected by COVID-19 in Uganda as part of our You and the Law COVID edition series that basically explains the various aspects of human rights that have been affected by COVID-19. And today we have Mr. Michael Aboneka from Action Aid Uganda, a social justice lawyer, very passionate activist. Michael, you're welcome from the break.
Thank you.
So, before we went for a break, you gave a clear picture of the law around this concept of rule of law.
Yes.
But also we know that for any law or idea to be enforced, some people have to do some work.
Yes.
And so, normally, the starting point is always the government, because we talk about international law, the state is the party. So we thought, what obligation does the state have to ensure rule of law in Uganda? Before we talk about the citizens, I think let's start from the the biggest duty bearer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And since I'm a social justice activist, I like to begin and say that the state's primary responsibilities are two. Is to protect the citizens and also ensure that the citizens make wealth and that they are alive. So whether you use law and whatever means, you have to make sure citizens are protected. Okay? But that you can't sing about peace and yet people are being attacked in the night and things like that. So the government is, actually I want to use the word state.
Yes.
Because states are, are mechanisms. They are here. They have institutions. They have mechanisms of delivering this. So it is interesting that now the state has to ensure we have policy, which translates into law, and implement it. At the same time, those in state must respect it.
Yes.
So they are implemented as a dual role. So they implement it, at the same time they must respect it. By and large, they have forgotten they have forgotten the other part of respecting it to being just the ones of implementing it, and they remove themselves from the usual citizen of Uganda. That's why someone will come and say, me, I'm a minister, I can't line up. Me, I'm this and this. But you see there's an issue of equality. So the state has to implement. If it's a constitution, you have, for example, the Fish Act. There's a minister in fisheries and agriculture. They are supposed to ensure that actually they implement that. If you're supposed to give people licenses to, fish, and also the guys who use canoes transport people across. You don't just go actually and do it. There's a whole process of you have to apply to Ministry of Works, and they give you a license for you to be able to do that. You don't just wake up and take a boat and then you start doing that. No, there's a whole legal process.
Yes.
There's also a whole legal process on just everything you think about. There's always a way out. So what that means is that good law should be able to abide and bound everyone. In the constitution, it is only the president who is not above the law, but he has immunity.
Yes.
I think under Article 98 of the constitution, that he can't be subject to civil and criminal proceedings. Now, some of us who are stubborn in terms of, the academia world, so we ask ourselves, so you can't actually proceed with divorce proceedings against the president, whether the president is a woman or a man, because divorce is a civil issue. So are you saying that if I am tired of this man or woman, I can't proceed?
Isn't there a caveat on the kind of actions you can bring against the president? I thought it's referred to the cause of their work.
The cause of their work. I think so, but you see many people are hiding that blanket. And we haven't had enough jurisprudence on that
issue.
Because the ones we've seen are election petitions. At that point, you are not president.
Yes.
So we want to see whether that is also possible, because we need to test our law. That is just a by the way.
Yes.
But the other important point is that the state is the custodian of this law. everything they sign. The other day I was just doing research this morning. The 9 million radios that we're supposed to receive, there is a contract that was awarded over billions of shillings to a company. So someone signed that contract. The AG and whatever, they are custodians of that. But Ugandans know what's happening. So even if they stopped the process, had they given the money out or not? Where is that? So government is a custodian of all these things. The other thing that the government does is to ensure that it is implemented to the latter. So then the police comes in. Everyone has a role to play. The police is to ensure law and order. So once there is law and order, then you have rule of law. It is just as simple as that, a given. So wherever, so there are deviations that happen, that everywhere, because people say crime is as old as human beings.
Yes.
Adam was the first one to defy, but that doesn't mean that we should continue in the Adam spirit.
Yes.
Later God forgave him. Depending on where you read that from, but he was punished together with Eve. So that's what the good law is supposed to be, that it is for everyone, it doesn't act retrospectively. And I want to address the issue of cobweb law. We've had instances where there is cobweb law. Cobweb law is that you make a law only for small insects to grab small people. And then the big guys cannot be held by that law. So it's called selective justice. You apply law selectively. It is supposed to be applied equally. Yes.
Yeah. So, Michael, we need to switch gears now and see.
Yeah.
I know you've been pointing to this in the course of our conversation.
Yeah.
So, looking at the COVID-19 pandemic that came and altered our normal way of life.
Yes.
How has the pandemic affected rule of law, the application of the concept of rule of law in Uganda?
Yeah. Just like everyone always blame the devil. Everyone is blaming COVID.
Yes.
But look here. We knew about COVID in 2019. So we're supposed to have been prepared.
Yeah.
And a lot of supplementary budgets have happened. Now, COVID-19 to me is not the problem. The problem is whoever has been managing the situation. Now, I want to say I had problems from the very start concerning the rule of law and COVID-19. How? It looked to me, and I've actually written about it, even if you Google, that we did not have any plan. We were just gambling. Something happens, then all of a sudden there is a presidential address, and then after 3 hours, people are saying, what did he say? What did he say? Yeah. And then he says, I'll come back to clarify. Then he comes, and then you're like, so what exactly are we going with?
Yes.
And then before the 2 weeks are elapsed, they come and postpone. Like there was no plan. Presidential directives are not law. And I want to repeat that.
Contentious area, yes.
I have said it several times that they are not law until they are reduced to what the law is supposed to be. Now, there is nowhere, especially during the pandemic, because the pandemic is a health issue, and it has been treated under the Public Health Act.
Yes.
One of the first things the minister was supposed to do is to declare COVID-19 as an infectious disease. So the minister was supposed to pass that instrument. After that, then you go ahead to make regulations that can actually help to prevent. I think the last time I checked, there were over 19 statutory instruments
under the Public Health Act.
But signed by the minister.
Yeah.
I have a problem. The president would speak, and immediately people want to implement the presidential directives.
In fact, if police stop you, they'll tell you that you're violating the presidential directives.
Yes,
they never cite anyone.
Yes, they will tell you, we are arresting you because you are. They will even say you are disrespecting the president. So you're wondering, what is the law? They're just quoting the president,
yes.
And that is very bad for rule of law. Ideally, this is what I expected: that the president comes and addresses the nation when there's an statutory instrument ready there. That gives it you know, as a fountain of honor and what have you, yes, it gives it some bit of backing, legitimacy, and says the minister has done her job, and I call upon Ugandans to respect. But there are things he said which are not tenable in law, and then they couldn't actually put them in law. But the guys who had, the LDUs, who had just graduated, were already saying, now we have to show the president that we have graduated.
Yes.
They caned people that very day, cars were impounded, but there was no law. Until I think the Law Society, and of course, some of us made legitimate noise, and those people were released. Another problem, people were arrested in the night. Some were arraigned in court in the night.
Yeah.
How come we, the lawyers, were not allowed to go to court because it's curfew? But somehow there was a magistrate at some court to arraign people and remand them in the night. People have a right to have a lawyer. It is under our law, equality for all. You must have a lawyer. You have a right to have a counsel. But they were denied that chance. People remanded in the night. It was terrible. So the presidential directives were really handled badly, especially the first lockdown, and there were many outcries because someone will just tell you, for me, the president has said. And I guarantee that most of those people were not even following the minister's statutory instrument, even when they came out. For them, they will just wait and say, what is Mzee saying today? And while they are there, you know, working on their sticks to cane people. So that was a problem. So there was also a problem with access to justice. Because then people cannot, first of all, they said that let the registries work. Okay? You can file your case. But the lawyers can't come. Okay? And they said the criminal courts will continue to work. So they arrested people. Lawyers can't access them because they are saying that lawyers are not essential. But the Constitution says, at Article 23, you have a right to a lawyer, to a doctor when you're arrested, but the lawyer can't come. And we are in discussions of who is essential, who is not essential. So that also caused a little bit of problem. Because you see, the issue of fairness and equality and ensuring that everyone accesses justice is very key. I also want to talk about the issue about impounding borders. That was crazy. And the problem is, most of them had to pay money over 500,000 to have your border, you know, released. But without any due process, it was just according to mood. And the mood is of how hungry do you find that police officer. You're hungry and angry. If it is the end of the month when they have received their car money, maybe the mood might be different. So it was really bad. And it was just a wanton, you know, surrounding of borders and caning people. So which is not the principle of rule of law. There should be due process.
Yeah, Michael, let's speak on from there after the break, because you seem to paint a picture that perhaps is so gloomy. But I'm wondering, are there areas we can celebrate as a country in the context of rule of law and COVID-19? Viewers, you're watching You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. Let's go for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our conversation with Michael Aboneka. Welcome back. This is You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. My name is Jonathan Ochom, your host, and today we are discussing with Michael Aboneka from ActionAid Uganda to examine the effects of COVID-19 on the rule of law in Uganda. As you've been aware, we've been having a series of discussions around the various aspects of human rights which have been hard hit by this virus, and today we thought we would just have another conversation on these key area of the rule of law. Michael, welcome back from the break.
Thank you.
When we're getting out for a break, you were explaining, the challenges, and I said you're pointing a gloomy picture. But I'm curious to know, aren't there one or two things that, we can celebrate? You can say the government did this, and it was okay. This was fine. This was fine.
I am happy that finally we stopped implementing presidential addresses to now proper regulation.
Yes.
The prevention of COVID, or the spread of COVID-19, regulations passed by the minister under the Public Health Act. I was happy, and that was done. Secondly, again, this one has an issue with the rule of law.
Yes.
But in the second lockdown, you observe that they stopped, let me use the word, overbeating Ugandans. Because some were beaten. No, there were scandalous stories.
Yes.
A woman who was an LD poured oil on them because they had to go. Others were beaten because their veranda enter inside the house. So it was really bad. There were so many human rights violations during the process of ensuring that people don't die, but you're killing them. Even arrest.
Yeah.
They are saying, we are arresting you for failure to social distance, but they are abandoning you on the pickup.
Yeah, to a cell.
Even on a pickup. Up to now, I still wonder which law and procedure tells the police guys that when you're arresting people, put them under the pickup, where they also put dead bodies, or the bodies of dogs they pick on the road. So that is inhuman and degrading. What is wrong with telling someone you're under arrest unless they're resisting arrest? But what they have in their mind, I've been arrested before. Before you sit there, the guy is putting his leg on your thigh, and you're wondering, what is it? Calm down. Can we go to the police station? Can you tell me why you're arresting me? They don't even know. The boss has said we come for you. But the constitution says you should tell someone why they are being arrested. How many people were told, apart from saying presidential directive? Until the president said, stop beating Ugandans.
Yes.
That's when it stopped.
Yeah.
Now, it is good they stopped, but I have a problem that it had to be the president to tell them. But we have the whole institutions. Where was the army spokesperson? Where was the director of human rights in police?
Yes.
Why didn't they come out and say, please don't? But always these guys are in Chankwanzi, they are always in refresher courses. Don't they know? And one of the courses they teach there is human rights.
Yes.
Don't they know that beating people is a bad thing? So it is good, but in terms of rule of law, institutions must be independent. That people shouldn't work because the president is watching. So at least that was good, that they stopped beating people, and that they now came back to their senses.
Okay.
But after withdrawing LDU, and then they said, we are taking them back to school. So I don't know whether they had come for clerkship,
Internship.
and they failed.
You're very interesting, Michael, because even when you're explaining a good point, you're quick to point out a weakness in it. I mean,
well, I just said plainly.
Yes. Michael, so we are envisaging a situation.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the objective of this show is really to reflect on what have we learned, what can we do best, because we can't be sure if COVID-19 is ending today, or it's even a last
or there is something else.
Yes, it could be something else, but of a similar magnitude that could happen in this country, even across the world. And we're wondering, Michael could be the next Minister of Justice or Consular
even
Affairs,
else.
the Attorney General, or even the President or Minister of Health or whatever. You could have a role to play, basically, in this country. And I'm curious to know, what would be those policy proposals that you would push to ensure that we protect the rule of law amid these extraordinary times? We admit that pandemics are not normal times. There's just the need to put things together. What are those things we learn from this COVID experience that we're going through that you think would help us deal with a similar pandemic 5-10 years from now?
That's a very good one, and I hope we are learning. You see, the only problem I have, I've been telling people that we love our country, but does our country love us? We talk these things. Is it a problem to talk about a pothole outside?
No.
So when I talk about it, and then you say that I am bad, then who is bad? The one who has left the pothole open, or me who is talking about it? So for some time, we've been taken for granted, but it's okay. there are many things we've learned. I am happy even now as police enforcers. Traffic jam in Kampala is crazy. People need to understand that many people actually switched from public transport to private transport because it is easy for them. So and the time for curfew has still remained the same. So as a police person who is implementing this guideline, you need to have reasonableness, a degree of reasonableness. Discretion. And say, what am I going to do? It's traffic. So you allow, and I credit them for that. You allow some level of, 1 or 2 hours. Because what are you going to do with the people on the road? They are digging roads every now and then. Someone said some roads are like a pipeline. Today they dig here, tomorrow they dig here. That is again also another issue. Like in terms of planning, let's have guidelines. When this pandemic comes, what is the role of Parliament? Parliament was crying, we want to go and legislate. Many things are happening. They are passing under our, that was Parliament. Then you had people saying, shan't we go to school? Our right to education. Is anyone thinking about it? Then the market vendors, they are saying, you're saying that for us we should stay. But the ones who are coming and buying from us, they are coming every day and going back. But you're saying that for us we should stay. So who is bringing COVID and who is not bringing COVID? So we have learned in many sectors, the border sector, the taxi sector, what have we learned in terms of the taxi being, at half capacity?
Yes.
Does it work or not? Who enforces that people are wearing masks actually in a taxi? What have we learned? And then we must have a guideline of, I don't know whether we have actually in this country a policy on disaster, but we have a minister and we have a ministry. But I want to hope that we have a policy. So that one should be able to guide, because tomorrow it will be something big. What happens if there is a fire like in Australia? All those big fires catching the city, what will happen? Shall we just collapse? And they call us to call us to call and say it is a doomsday. Let us all pray and die here. So we need to learn. It is okay. There are mistakes we've made, but progressively things have moved on well. We shouldn't wait for patients to cry that we are eating a lot of portion beans, and yet Spice Diana is bringing eggs. We shouldn't wait for people to complain. We shouldn't wait. We had issues of oxygen.
Yes.
And we've been calling for reclaiming public services. The health sector needs to be revised. Government should have an upper hand in regulating the health sector. You had issues of oxygen. You had issues of arrests of bodies. So we should learn from those. We shouldn't think that it is the end of it. There's need for policy review in terms of health, the policy review in terms of access to justice. We are still grappling. The other day I was having an issue with the court issuing guidelines following the presidential directives without law. I'm like, this is a type of justice. What should we do? And right now, they are going into how to manage e-filing. I'm happy for that, out of COVID. So can we not just sleep and say, let's wait for another COVID to come, then we can, resurrect. Let us continue discussing. And maybe yes, because it's going to help us as a country that I can file my application online and hear it online, and bail is granted, and that's it. So we need also to, the other point is to learn that some freedoms we need to respect. For example, I found that the right to dissent was one of those that were highly violated. The late Pastor Iga, rest in peace, the man asked a simple question, where is COVID? Get him and go and show him patients in Entebbe. Don't lock him up. The poor man died without knowing whether COVID was real or not. The right to dissent is an extension of the right of expression. That I have a right to say, no, I don't think so. Then we engage at that level. So we need to promote the culture of debate in this country, that even away from misinformation. Now, another thing we need to learn is the issue of vaccination. It has caused a storm.
Yes.
Up to now, I'm still asking. Actually, I asked the Minister of Health, asked the PRO, and the Attorney General, what law are people using to stop Ugandans from accessing services because they don't have a card? Did you know that Ugandans are being, you can't go to some institutions, I won't mention them here, they have stopped people, they have stopped admitting people unless you have a COVID certificate. But that under which law? First of all, people are struggling to get vaccines. And you're saying, some other DCs, I think in Soroti and somewhere, they are saying, you can't enter my office unless you have the card. But I've gone to line up to get the vaccine, and the nurse has not come because they didn't give her 40,000. So we need to learn from that and say, this is a respectable country. We love tourists, but we should also equally love Ugandans who keep the country for the tourists to come. So there is a lot to learn. I am happy now that people are progressive, that they are open to debate, and the debate should continue. But we shouldn't force vaccination on Ugandans. We need to tell them you can take a vaccine, and it should be progressive. We are 50 million, and we need to vaccinate about 4.8 million. And so far we have done 1 million. So what is the 3 going to do? We stay home until we wait? We can't. So we need to balance life, the economy, human rights. It's always a balance. We shouldn't say the right to health is the only right you have. You can't eat, you can't dance, you can't do everything. No. So I think we need to balance and listen to people more. Because people are saying, how come the churches are allowed up to 200? Me, my kaba, which takes maximum 30 people, I'm not allowed to operate.
I'm a musician.
I'm a musician.
In a crowd.
I can't perform in a crowd. But a pastor who is just singing the whole day, is allowed. So we need to balance. There is no right that is greater than the other. And I'm sure that they are doing that. And I'm happy that now they take conversation, they take debate. This country is for all of us. Even the discussions on bail and what have you, the congestion of the prisons. We need to decongest. I can tell you that the ratio of the convict and remandees has been 50-50. And now it has steadily moved to 43 to 47, which is still minimal. That you have over, 400,000 something, people on remand. They have never seen a judge. They don't know how a judge looks like, how he talks. And then they are there and that you are in prison. So we need to learn from all these things and say, what is the best way for our country? By the way, Uganda is known as a peaceful country, and I keep telling those people, but don't take us for granted. When you come here, respect the laws. And how come when everyone is leaving this country, they want to live well, they want to respect the laws of those countries they have gone to? When we come back and like, Gamba no gu, what, all those things we are hearing. We need to respect ourselves first, and then it will be good for everyone else.
Michael, one of the issues that arose at the start of COVID-19, I think there was a lot of conversations around this, was whether the government of Uganda should have declared a state of emergency in order to deal with the pandemic. And the arguments for and against this. But from a governance lens, what are your thoughts on that proposal? What merits would it have brought or otherwise?
I think I was one of those who were proposing for it. But I also asked myself a historical question. Have we ever had a state of emergency in this country? Have they ever declared a state of emergency? When we have a state of emergency, what happens to this country? Are we able to actually manage? Because state of emergency, you're saying, guys, it is beyond us, and you're calling upon the international community to come and support you, which sometimes is a political thing. People have to show we are in control, just give us money, and we shall sort it. But legally and in the democratic lens, I think that was the best thing to do. You say what? You know what? Let's declare a state of emergency and handle everything ad hoc as it comes. Because now you had many people, battered. We would have avoided all these things. Then you have elections which are handled haphazardly, campaigns, suspended. So I'm even wondering how the people of Kampala voted, basing on what? That's why the incumbents were able to make it. But Michael, who has just come up and I want also to run, but I'm not allowed to campaign in Kampala. They don't know me. So on the ballot, they tick whoever they know. So a lot of, the citizens will, and Article 1, that they shall determine how they should be governed and who was stifled. So in that state of emergency, elections would have been postponed. Okay? You postpone the elections until, we are in a sane environment and have the elections.
But some people actually argue that much as there was no official state of emergency, we practically lived under one. I don't know what your sense on that could be.
Yeah,
as we come to
the
end of this year.
I agree, and I've told you that these things are always political. You know, there is hybrid democracies, which I don't believe in.
Yes.
The hyphen democracy, you know, these things of hybrid regime, or it is either democracy or not. So these guys have been running a hybrid sort of thing. So it is a state of emergency. So what they didn't just call it is a state of emergency. They just call it, you know what, the state of affairs. We're in the state of affairs, and this is how we are dealing with it. But it was intertwined, because if you see, all actions were done, and then they sanitized later. Let me just give you a small example.
Yes.
Between May and July or August, we had no cabinet. We had no minister of health.
Even the budget was
read there was by, yes. So at that point, so I was asking whoever was implementing, and remember, the statutory instrument had expired. So I was asking, between this period, what COVID guidelines or COVID instruments were we implementing? So I would have expected that at least, you know, the president would have appointed immediately, probably the Minister of Health, to support the process, because he has all the powers.
Yeah.
But you see, between that period until the Minister of Health was appointed, we were in a vacuum of there is no Minister of Health. So what COVID-19 law were we implementing? Because we can't implement the presidential directives. So it was a hybrid indeed, and of course it works politically for some. But
yes.
At the end of the day, we need to come down to, okay, we've learned our lessons. I hope we learn, because one of the bigger things problem I have is the non-responsive nature of those in power.
Yeah.
That they say, come we talk, but then they talk to you. You come participate, but then they participate you. So we need to find a way that we balance and say we love this country. Let us see what works for us.
Yeah.
But by and large, I want to salute the officers. I want to salute everyone, the health officials. There are those who lost their lives, rest in peace, and everyone who has continued to support the rule of law. Because people do that and they don't know. If you refuse to give a bribe to an officer, you're actually supporting rule of law.
Yeah.
If you do things the way they're supposed to, you have a role to play. Because citizens want government to do everything. But under Article 17, they have almost 10 obligations they're supposed to do. But then they just tell them one of them is paying tax, and they forget others.
Thank you so much, Michael. Michael makes a very strong case for us as citizens to play a part in ensuring the rule of law, and more importantly, for the government of Uganda, like any other state, to put in place good laws that promote rule of law and democracy, but more importantly, respect those laws. This has been You and the Law, the COVID edition here on House of Talent Television. Next time, we'll be having another topical discussion on another human right which has been affected by the virus. For today, we'd like to say thank you to our partners, Legal Hub Uganda and I4C Africa Hub, for making this possible, and to Michael Aboneka from Action Aid Uganda for taking the time to be with us and have a discussion. Thank you so much. It's a bye from us here.
itaranto. Hariho umutware yaratunze cyane afite n'abagaragu, kera kabaye agira uruzinduko mu kindi gihugu, ahamagara abagaragu be maze abasigira ubutunzi bwe. Umwamuha itarane eshanu, undi amuha ebyiri, undi amuha itarane imwe itagirira kabiri, maze umutware arazinduka. Maze babagaragu batangira gukoresha za tarano nk'uko shebuja yazibasigiye. Uwahawe shana aragenda arazigenza, agenzura amesha hano. Uwahawe ebyiri nawe abigenza atyo, agenzura ebyiri. Maze wa wundi wahawe imwe aragenda acukura icobo, ayishamo ya tarano, aratinyuka arayitabaye.